Hello, and welcome to the Art of Intuition podcast. My name is Susan Jane, and I believe that trusting your intuition is the best way to live your life with meaning and purpose. Each week you will hear about how you can connect, develop, and trust your intuition through interviews with other guests and my own personal experiences. Join me to understand how your intuition can guide you towards a life full of meaning and loving purpose. Hello and welcome to the Art of Intuition podcast. Oh no, I've done it again. I meant the Voice of Intuition podcast. I'm still sort of changing over a little bit, and I'm not sure whether I like it or not because I'm so used to saying the Art of Intuition. But anyway, here we are. And today, or subscribe, like with the podcast, and share it around with all your friends, because today we are talking about angels, and I'm really excited about this because I've talked to a lot of ladies about angels, because that's sort of something that we've done. But today I'm talking to a gentleman about angels, and it's going to be really nice to see it in a different perspective, have a look at how it is and what does it mean. But also I want to find out exactly what angels and intuition have to do with each other, and how you can help develop your connection either with angels or with intuition or with both. But with no further ado, I want to welcome to the podcast Seph. How are you going, Seph?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you? And thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, just wait. There's going to be some really deep and meaningful questions that are going to be thrown at you. No, there isn't. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
I can handle it. I can handle it.
First of all, I didn't have a little bio for you. I have it on Podmatch, but I haven't opened that up. So I do apologize for that. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and how on earth did you get to talk to your angels?
Well, let's go with the angels. So thank you. What happens is that I had a spiritual awakening about 20 years ago. And at the time, I couldn't have been any further removed from the topic. I was a real estate agent in Southern California, money, success. And I had this spiritual awakening, and I suddenly heard the voice of my angels. I felt touched by them. And when they came in, they announced to me that I was going to be working with them on a project. And specifically the project that they referred me to is that the earth would go through a very, very deep awakening, and that we would live in a totally different reality, and that my role or my calling had something to do with working with them to assist humanity through this very pivotal or transformational time in human history. And here we are at this transformational time in human history. So the good news that I have, especially from the angels, is that many of us for the last 20 or 30 years have been hearing the messages about what this is all about. So there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. We're actually going to an exciting destination. But that's how they came in, and of course, awakened my intuition and ability to speak with them and to relay, and that's what I call it, is relay their messages of hope and guidance for humanity. And that sometimes happens in an individual when I'm doing a reading for someone, or when I do work about the global situation, about what the angels have to say about that.
Wow. Okay, so first thing I've got to ask is, how did you know it was your angels? How did you not know that it was on the other shoulder and it was that little devil going, ooh, do this?
Well, first of all, I called them in. And second of all, okay. So when many of us have, of course, our spiritual awakenings, we're having a very, very challenging situation first. So probably many people will say this, and this was true for me. I really felt no purpose in living anymore because I had some huge setbacks, and I kind of laid there in my bed asking if I could die, or can you take me tonight? And when I realized that, the Creator was not going to do that and answer that prayer, that I wasn't going to get off the hook that easily, I said, well, that's fine then. Then I shift up my request. I have angels around me, and they're not doing a good enough job because I'm in this mess. So why don't you send an actual tangible um, manifestation of my angels? I don't want to just believe that they're there. I want to know that they're there. And suddenly I felt touched. I felt this amazing peace overcome me. And then I heard something say, this is not only going to be okay, it's going to be better than okay. So the peace or the bliss that I felt in that moment uh, made me not even think a second thought about which side that cosmic being might be coming from.
Okay, I did have to ask, you know that,
Of
because
course.
we hear all these voices sometimes, or our thoughts sort of become our reality, and obviously, where you're saying that is one of the things I've always said. The first thing you need to do is ask. How you ask, you know, it could be prayer, it could be by saying WTF, by laying on the bed thinking, well, just take me off, I've had enough. Anyway, you're asking, as soon as you ask, you're open to receiving. So before we go any further to Seph, I just want to say Seph's website is www.talktomyangels.com. Nice and easy, because you want to remember that. We're going to learn a little bit more here about angels. So the first thing you did, you're laying on your bed, you've had enough, you're having a horrendous time of it, and you've turned around and said, okay, well, if I've got angels around me, they're not doing a very good job. Come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
snap out of it, kiddo, and give me some proof. And you had that. You had this amazing story. So what happened then?
Well, it's funny because I want to skip to this part of the story because this is a really incredible experience. I made them prove themselves to me too. You know, speaking of the question of like, which shoulder are you on? And they started to give me this incredible guidance. For example, one time I got home from doing an open house and they told me to drive to Disneyland, which is near my house where I lived at the time. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll drive there. And when I got there, I discovered that there was a woman and her two boys stuck on the side of the road, and I was able to help them. And her first response to me was like, I'm so glad you stopped. I believe in angels again. And I was sent there by the angels. They told me to go there. And that's what I knew, what I was supposed to be there for. And this was a daily occurrence, this kind of fun thing where I would hear a bit of guidance or hear a little bit of this. But one of my favorite experiences like that is they told me one day, your sister Kara is going to call you and she's pregnant with a little girl. So, okay, that's great. And 4 hours later, my sister calls me to tell me that she's pregnant. And I said, oh, is it a little girl? She goes, oh, I don't know yet. But of course, 7 months later, my niece is born. Now, fast forward a couple, 3 years, and of course, kids are still intuitive when they're young. I get a call from my sister one time and she says, oh, Madeline wants to talk to you. And I said, okay. And I get on the phone and Madeline says to me, and oh, by the way, this was one of those moments where I go back and forth of questioning the angels. So just because they come in doesn't mean that you don't ever go like, wait a second, are you there? Is this really you or whatever? And it was one of those moments where I was having a low point of my life and I was questioning whether the angels were authentic or not again. And right as I was doing that, my sister calls me, Madeline says, wants to talk to me. And I just pick up the phone. She says, do you remember when the angels told you that I was going to come? And of course, I never told anyone in my family about that. She says, I just remembered that. And I didn't know if you remembered it too.
Wow, that's amazing. And it is, I really understand where you're coming from, because people that listen to the podcast, they tend to think that you've got it all together, you know, like you're talking to your angels there and then, and you're doing this and you're doing that. But it's not like that. It's, you know, we still have our highs and our lows. We still have those times when we do question what we're hearing, and is it the right thing? And I know I did cards once, and as you know, with a deck of cards, you've got probably 56 cards in this deck, and there was one yes and one no. And I remember doing what you did, saying, I don't want a fluffy answer. I want a yes, no answer. That's it. And I was quite determined. And of course, so I've shuffled the deck and everything else, dropped it out. There's a yes answer. And you know what? I still questioned it. I still questioned it. How stupid. A deck of 56 cards. I asked for it and yet I still questioned it. So yes, it does. It does make us think twice. And it's really, really important. If you are having issues like that, ask again. And you've just got your confirmation from your niece.
Absolutely. And the most difficult and challenging times that we have is because there's a shift or a blessing that's coming in that regard. And so, what happens when we wake up consciously or spiritually, we start talking to our angels, we awaken our intuition. When we do face a challenging time, we still may question whether we can get through it or not, but there's something underneath that says that we can. And recently, I had an experience that last year, almost a year ago. I've never been in a car accident in my life, but I was in the back seat of an Uber or Lyft or one of those, and the guy switched lanes, and he shouldn't have, and we got into a horrible accident on the freeway. Well, believe it or not, the night before, I had sort of had it with this period that we're living in. Even though I've been talking to angels and I know that this is a positive shift, the heavy weight of fear, we can feel it and all of that. And I was in one of those spots again just last year. Take me. I'm done. I'm done with this stuff. This is so difficult. This is so hard. So I get into this horrible accident on the freeway, never been in one in my entire life. And I walk away, I look at the car, and I am no injuries whatsoever. I mean, the back and the neck, yes, there was that, but no like life-threatening injuries or anything after you've seen the car. And I was like, oh, I'm still supposed to be here. Now it's interesting because last week I encountered someone where I saw the accident happen and I stopped to help. And when you're in an accident, you go, your mind gets disoriented from the adrenaline. And only after being in one do you know what it's like. And so when I stopped to help the person and she was disoriented, I went, ah, this is why some of us have these experiences that are challenging, because only because of having that experience was I able to really fully understand where she was so that I could actually help her out of that and explain to her what was going on. And it's the same thing with all the other challenges that we're experiencing. We get these challenges, we're guided through them from our angels and intuition, and then we're able to really fully help people because we can understand. We have been in one-sided relationships. We have had people steal 100,000 from us. We have had all these things happen to us, and we know what it feels like, and we can actually be of service.
Wow. So it's like sort of a shake up. So you have to experience so you can help others do it.
There's a
Wow.
there's absolutely a bit of that. And then we get to understand how that becomes teachable moments. It's because parables are so powerful in that sense. When we speak from experience, people go, oh my gosh, I totally get that. I mean, a good example is when I got fired from not doing something. In other words, I didn't do what I got fired for, but I ended up in a job that paid more money that I was ready to do, but I was not really taking an aggressive enough approach to it. In other words, I wasn't going to just jump right into it. And the source, the universe, God, the creator, decided, no, you have success waiting here. So I'm going to have you get fired for something you didn't even do so that you can get into this and manifest your success. And you tell a story like that, and people are like, ah, I get it. The universe does have my back. So we are able to speak in parables in that sense. And especially with the angels, for me, they'll narrate every single experience because I'm going through it. They're like, oh, see, check this out, check this out. And you get this instant paradigm shift just because you have access to hear them speak to you, you know?
Yeah. Wow. All right. I need to ask you the big question. What are angels? Like, I have my concept of angels, and I'm sure everybody listening has a concept of angels. But what's your concept? Because I find that when we start to share our different ideas, it allows people to blend their thoughts with it as well. So, what are angels?
Angels are a higher conscious state that's role is to guide us, to guard us, to make sure that we manifest what is for our highest path. We do have angels and archangels that appear separate to us in our reality, such as Archangel Raphael or Gabriel, which will appear as a separate being speaking to us, or we know what part of that. On that side or in that realm, there is only unity. So even though there are some distinctions in, say, Archangel Raphael helping us with healing or Archangel Gabriel helping us with our writing or our speaking our message to the world, etc. That's an aspect of that unity consciousness that exists at a higher conscious state that is here to guide us and guard us. Now, what's interesting is that that consciousness is actually our future or perfected self. So before we agreed to forget that we actually are an amazing multidimensional being and sort of become get amnesia to that, we used the more perfected or the future aspect of ourselves to sort of hover over us and guide us and guard us and the entire world too.
Wow. Oh, I love how you explain that. That's really cool. Because when I first started my spiritual work, I went straight to angels too, because that resonated with me. It just made you feel, I don't know, feel right. So I went straight to angels too, but I got that understanding that they were all the same, but we look at them in those different aspects to give ourselves an understanding of it in the here and now. So
It's
yeah.
it's the way that we can relate to them. And then when we start to see
Mm.
them as just a field of consciousness that is a high vibrating and all knowing field of consciousness that was created by the divine as a sort of a bridge. And remember, the word angel literally means a bridge between heaven and earth. So allowing us to know what the divine has for us to know is coming through that channel of angelic. And it's a lot of love because they exist above this dimension of duality, but it also keeps them in that all knowing state as well, which is why they are in a position to guide us. And they also sometimes just come to love us because they're still in that state of unconditional love, because they're not in this reality where we have duality. And they're able to really be of service. And that's what they're there. And whether it's a they or a them or it or whatever you want to refer it to, once we actually access them, we become really unstoppable. I mean, we will have our challenges and our difficult moments, but the miraculous aspects of our lives are, it's not worth exchanging for the challenges that you get. I mean, it literally is a fair trade-off.
Yes. I like that. All right. So the next question then would have to be, because of the podcast heading, is what do angels have to do with intuition? Like, what is the connection in between those two?
So, intuition, I describe it as being in our expanded conscious states. And once we're in that expanded conscious state, we're actually in a state of being that is of unity with the divine, unity with all. Now, the analogy I like to use for that is if you go like to the redwood forest or any big, huge forest, if you dig under the ground, you'll find that the roots underneath the ground, it makes that forest one entity of interconnectivity. And yet above the ground, the trees appear to be separate beings, shall we say. And in that particular sense, we're not separate from each other. We're not separate from the angels, and we're not separate from the divine. So when we go into an expanded conscious state and we have what appears or feels like another aspect communicating with us, then we get the opportunity to expand our consciousness into the knowing. And one of the reasons I like to teach intuition is because it's not just about the knowing. It's not just about, is Robert going to call me on Friday night? It literally is expanding into our higher conscious states. And I say that that is when we're literally holding hands with the Creator. We have forged an intimate relationship with Creator when we're in an intuitive state. And who else would be right by our side but that higher level of consciousness that we know as the angelic realm? And when we're in that state, that expanded conscious state, that's why intuition is no longer a luxury in today's world. It's literally a vital life skill, because we navigate around. We need it to navigate through this destabilized world that we live in, and we need it to live our purpose or to identify our purpose. And when we do that, when we forge this connection with Creator, we become unstoppable, we become protected, We become guided all the time, and we vibrate at a high frequency. And with that intimate relationship with Creator through our angels and intuition, we end up being able to manifest things because the Creator is able to open doors at the invisible realm for us, and we co-create. And the angels remind us that we can't be intimate with the Creator and broke and out of safety and hungry and not loved and not protected at the same time. It's impossible.
Yes, yes, I know what you mean. So it's that synchronicity all happening at once. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool. So before I go any further, remember that Seph's website is www.talktomyangels.com. So you can connect with Seph on talktomyangels.com. And he is actually he's got a 10-week angel and tarot masterclass coming up soon, and he's got a little special announcement about that. But that's a bit in a minute. I'll put that up on the screen too in a minute. But so what I've got to get this understanding now. So when we're talking about the intuition, you're talking about it, you're in a particular state, and being in that state allows you to connect deeper with divine energy or a divine source, and of course the angels around it too, so which is that bridging gap as well. So knowing that, how do we start to talk to our angels? How do we know? Like, I mean, it's okay to go through and we talk about the experiences that we've had, and in all honesty, all we can do is talk about the experiences we've had because we've had them, so we know what they feel like. But how does somebody, when they're first starting out, how do they know? What do they need to do? How can they just connect and make those first steps going forward?
You know, one of the greatest ways is to get into a peaceful state of mind. So whether it's just being in nature or our meditation. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Meditation, especially we do binaural beats where we sync up the left and right hemisphere, because our angels are constantly communicating with us already. We're not learning to do something that we don't know how to do. We're remembering how to do something that we already know how to do, and that's already running in the background. And whether you call it our heart or our right brain, it usually gets ignored by the left brain. So when we have left and right brain cohesion, we're going to discover that that stream of consciousness is already there. The stream of consciousness is already speaking to us. So when we hear it speaking to us or take the time to listen to it, my favorite tip is to do automatic writing. And it's very simple. And if you want to put that effort on steroids, I say take a pad of paper, not the computer. Take a pad of paper and a pen or pencil, light a candle, stare at the flame in the candle for a little bit, and you'll notice that you get into an expansive state of being. Running water and fire, a candle or fireplace. That's why we feel so warm emotionally around a fire, is because it takes us into the brainwave state where right and left brain is in cohesion. And when it's in cohesion, then the stream of consciousness channel is always on anyway. It is always on anyway. And now when we sort of let the left brain quiet down, they'll quiet the mind, and the right, or I tell people to put their awareness right around their heart and let their focus travel from the side of their head all the way down to the heart. And that will take us into that state as well. We can actually even do energy work on ourselves by doing 9 rotations around our heart and actually pump that up or prime the well. We sit down with a piece of paper and the stream of consciousness is flowing through us anyways. But we say, all right, angels, what do you have to say to me? And as soon as you hear something, you write it down. And the minute you write it down, it's like water moving through a hose or any sort of pipeline or whatever. The minute it starts streaming and moving, which is why we call it stream of consciousness, more of it shows up. So we get this out and something else pops in. And as it moves in motion, then more pops up and more pops up. It's a great way to start accessing it. And when we hear it speaking to us in second person, like you should go and email that resume to this place, or whatever it is, you can do all this thing. You should go do this, or, you know, you should really forgive that person, or whatever. You'll hear the you should, or you will benefit from, or this will work out for you, as if it's someone else talking to you, but inside of you. And since it's operating already, all you have to do is let the left brain or the logical mind get quiet and tune into the right brain. And that's a way to activate it. So, but then once you activate it, then you can hear it all the time.
Yes, yeah.
Especially don't.
I like how you say that, yeah, because automatic writing is really, really good for that. And so the sitting in the candle, yep, and all water, like you're saying, running water, because I often have a lot of intuitive messages come through, or messages come through when I'm in the shower. Like I've had my morning walk and I go and have my shower. I often get a lot of that. So the running water does help. And yes, I get where you're coming from. It's like you sit in front of an open fire, or a fire, the fireplace, and it's not just the warmth of the fire, it's that real peaceful energy that you get with it. It's that, just to relax and take it easy. Another way too to get people starting, if they're not sure about getting started, is to just do some colouring in, because what you're doing is you're teaching that flow to come through and start colouring in. So I love how you're doing that. That's really cool. When you say hear it, when you hear those messages, I guess I would just like to jump in and say, you don't always hear it as you would hear somebody talking across the room. And I know you're more than aware of that, Seph, but I was just sort of saying it because, like you say, it's like a voice that you hear in your head. And sometimes you can actually, for example, if you turned around and said, okay, I can hear my mum and I can hear my dad, you know the voices are different. So when you're hearing these voices and you know they're not your head, you know that they're coming from somewhere else. So that's really succinct. I love how you do that. And your choice is writing. Have you always done the writing, Seph?
That was where I innately went. And I don't know why I innately went there, but I did. And it was interesting because shortly before that, someone gave me an interesting leather-bound journal. And I was like, and the message in there was, you have amazing things to say, use this. And it was very interesting because it was a short time in between when this person gave me this at a personal growth seminar and when I was talking to the angels and decided to use it to write down what I was hearing. And like you said, you hear it through awareness. You don't hear it through your ears, as you mentioned, which is a distinction. And yet what's interesting is that it's very subtle, but we're already hearing something speak to us. And one of the ways I remember realizing that is we say, the inner voice. And then the person says, the one that's saying what inner voice inside of you. And then the minute we realize, oh my God, there it is, then we tune into it. And then it becomes, very easy after that. And it's funny because when it starts to expand, it doesn't stop expanding. That's all it does from that point, is expand and expand and expand. So you think about instances like getting told to go to Disneyland and find someone that needs help, or, those kinds of things that are incredible that happen. We have that capability. And that's such a game-changing capability to have in today's world. For sure, it can give you peace, it can give you the guidance that you need. And it's very, very practical. I always tease when I present my course, I say, I'm not teaching this to you because I want you to order a neon sign for your front window. I don't know if it's the same in Australia, but psychics have these neon signs in the front window so you know where they're at. But it's not to become a psychic. It's so that you can actually have this amazing vital life skill. And the other morning I was waking up in the morning and I just heard, don't worry, be happy. Now, I haven't heard that song in years and years and years, but it's one of the ways that the angels can speak to us, is all of a sudden we'll hear a song in our head or something like that we didn't just hear or anything. It's not anything like that. And I was making up the bed and I was thinking, oh, nice one, guys. Gotcha. Nope, I'll have an amazing day today. So they can find all those different ways. But that's a great way to locate the inner voice, because we've all done that, where you have a song playing inside of our head, which is another voice, which is another piece of us. And that's a great way of tuning in there too, that part of us that's narrating, and especially what I would say is observing.
Yes. Oh, okay. That's really cool. Yes, and those songs do get stuck in your head. And one of the things I would like to warn everybody is don't sing them out loud. Well, not if you've got a voice like me anyway.
Oh, don't say that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, a singing voice anyway. Um,
Oh,
so yeah, so that's really good. So it is, and I loved how you said that voice inside of you, and then you go, "What voice?" And that's when you realize, because that's so true. And as you were saying it, I thought it and went, "Oh, yeah, okay, there it is." So that was
right.
really clever.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool.
because it's there and we don't realize it's there because we're so used to it being there. We're so accustomed to it being there, I guess we'd say that. And because we're so accustomed to it being there, we haven't distincted it or differentiated it. For example, when I do a reading for someone, I make someone aware that it's not just what I say as I relay it through the angels. There's going to be a narration inside your awareness about how you take whatever is being said. So, for example, if I say, the angels are telling me that you just went through a challenging time, and then you hear, oh my gosh, he just picked up on how I just had to, euthanize my dog. That commentary that's inside is the inner voice, so there's a lot of, when we do a reading, especially because we energetically activate people's awareness, when we'll say, there's someone around you that is been asking for help, and right away you know who it is, and then you put things together. It's that conversation that's going on the inside that is more important than the relay that you're hearing from the outside. And I tell people that, and that way they get more out of the reading as well,
Yeah.
because this is actually like activating people in that sense. And when you take things like fire and water in the shower, as a hypnotherapist, there actually is a measurable brainwave state that ranges between gamma, which is like when we're totally stressed out, and then we get into beta and alpha and theta. Theta is that brainwave state where we're actually receptive to what our intuition or higher self is telling us. So when we create habits, whether it's being around the fire, which is mesmerizing means it takes us into
Yes.
that, the water, the shower, the repetitive activity, the driving, all those different things. We're already intuitive at those moments because, like you said, we have these great ideas in the shower or when we're driving, and that is our intuition or our angel speaking to us.
Yes. So I wanted to go with Seph. You mentioned that you were a hypnotherapist, but you also mentioned that you did the cards. Now, so did you start with? Was that one of the tools, the first tools that you started to use to help you sort of hone into your angels? And
Yes.
how can we go? You just got to tell me.
Yes. So originally, I found a deck of cards that taught how to use them. And I actually felt the communication activate when I put them down so that I was able to use them as a tool to accelerate the way that the angels could speak to me. And the way I say it is like this, is that it's just another piece of synchronicity. So one time I was on the freeway, someone cut me off, but I was worried about something. This was early on. I was worried about something and I was driving in my car and someone cut me off and I had to switch lanes real fast. And the minute I switched lanes real fast, I found myself behind a great big, I don't know what you call them, lorries or whatever in Australia, big, huge truck. And on the back in big letters, it says, "In God we trust." And in the minute, I realized that all of that happened to make sure that I got that message. And life and the world that we live in is inlaid with so much synchronicity, which is the divine communicating with us all the time.
Absolutely.
And we really feel a heightened sense of being when we realize that something is a synchronicity and a message from our angels, from the divine, from God, from the Holy Spirit, whatever word you want to use that you're comfortable with. And so the cards are synchronicity. So the cards show up at certain times and it gives an opportunity to have a conversation. They're a lot like training wheels, though, too, because the minute we start to use the cards, we start to activate this part of us that gets to sort of take off on its own, like when we ride a bicycle and we need the training wheels on the side. And pretty soon we get to see other things besides what's in the cards, which is the reason that I teach them is I'm like teaching intuition, but it's the way that we start, because we're not looking to have intuition. We'll let the cards direct us through the synchronicity. And then what will happen is that we've just activated that part of ourself, and then it just starts firing, because it's actually more natural to us than the physical material world that we live in. And especially the anti, or let's just put it this way, we have duality here. So we are the
Yes.
light, we're multidimensional, but we agreed to be in a place where our perceived opposite, which is pure illusion, is here as well. And so that light, or that multidimensional aspect to us, is actually more natural to us than the human limiting form that we take. And the minute we connect with that multidimensional aspect of us, the intuition and connection with the angels is just a natural byproduct of that, because all of a sudden we're that being that already has that connection.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, wow. So sorry, my head just went. I was listening to what you were saying, so my head was sort of following you along, and so I've actually forgotten where I was going. Oh, I do know, because we were talking about the cards. Now, the reason why I brought that up is because you actually have a 10-week Angels and Tarot Mastercard class coming up. Now, Seth's been really generous and has given us a discount coupon that you can use. And I'm very excited about this because I want to do it myself. But the coupon code is Art of Intuition. No gaps, all one word, Art of Intuition. I'm going to put it down in the description so you'll have it there. And all you need to do is go onto his website. Remember the website? Yes, you do, because I said it before, talktomyangels.com. And you'll find it on there, and just use the code Art of Intuition and you'll get that $100 off. Like, that is amazing. A 10-week course. And Seth also has an option there too, where you can jump on. Was it Zoom, Seth, or was it Facebook? Zoom?
Yes, it's Zoom. It's Zoom.
Yeah.
Yes. And the reason that I offer this course, and the reason why I did this in this particular case, well, first of all, I have to tell you, on a personal note, Australia is one of those places that I've always thought about, like, moving to sight unseen. I have a special love for Australia, and I've never had an opportunity to go. And of course, now I can't go because of all of the restrictions and that sort of thing yet, until we have, all of that back. And I have been sending so much love to Australia, because you guys have been going through so much in the last 3 years with the fires and all the other stuff that doesn't need to be mentioned. But I just have been sending so much love and energy down there. And the purpose for creating this course anyways is because when you have that connectivity, it's game changing. It's totally game changing. And if this saves the well-being of people, then I'm very happy to do that. And so it's a go at your own pace video course. 6 of the modules are already up. And then the next 4 are going to come, at least at the time of the recording here. The next 4 are going to come up in the next 4 weeks. But it's 10 weeks of learning the cards and connecting with the angels, and connecting with the angels through the cards. And from that, I love watching the students progress. And we do have a Zoom meeting Tuesdays. I'll probably add some more. I mean, if I get 100 people from Australia, I'll add one that accommodates your time zone. But the whole idea is in the room, as in addition to what you learn in the class, is it's an opportunity to really practice. We've been creating community. The people that are in that room, they're helping each other. And I'm watching all these amazing miracles take place when people bring up things and we do practice readings with the cards and we expand on what's in the course. So it's really all about just lighting people up and giving you your full life back from your fully expanded state.
Yes, yeah, that's cool. And I mean, the reality is that sometimes we need to have our hand held to help us get through this. Like, when I was learning all my stuff, as I called it, we didn't have internet. We didn't have podcasts or video. Gosh, no such thing. It was back in the dark. We only just had electricity, I'm pretty sure. No, it wasn't that bad. But I used to get books out. I used to go to the local library and I'd hire 10 books at a time, and I'd start to read through those. And as I would read through them, there would be some books there that I would enjoy and I would take them on board. And then there was others that just didn't resonate with me. And that's what I like the beauty about the online courses that you've got, or and that I've got. That a lot of the guests that I've had on have got courses or ways to help you. And it allows you to be able to jump in at a reasonable price and learn in your way. And if that doesn't resonate with you, which I would imagine if somebody's listening to this and they've jumped onto your course, you have already resonated with them. What you're saying is already connecting with them. And so, for them to jump on and do your course, it's not going to be a problem. So we're really lucky we can get a taste of it. Whereas with the books, lucky enough, they were from the library, so I didn't have to pay for them. I could take on board what I wanted, and that was really good. So I love the idea of the 10 weeks, being able to hold their hand and having that group session where you can practice in a safe space, in a safe environment. It's really worthwhile. So a discount coupon available. It is Art of Intuition, all in one word, and that's for a 10-week Angel and Tarot Masterclass. So if you do jump on, you may find me there too, because if I can get the timing right, I'm going to be there having a play as well. I love it.
Would love to have you, and it's amazing to build community, because that's what we really need during this time, and we help each other as well. I mean, just to give you a glimpse in tonight's room, which I just got off of before I joined, it was very interesting because someone joined us new tonight, and she had experienced a death, and we came up with the Sun card, which talked about the will of God, the will of the universe. And there were two other people in the room who had just lost their husbands. Imagine the connectivity that happened there. And all of that is through synchronicity. And, one of the things I want to say when you mentioned the books, that's how I got started as well. It was very interesting because I lived near a bookstore, and I kept getting the angels saying, go down to the bookstore. I literally could walk right down the street to it. And I walked through that section, the cuckoo section with all the spiritual stuff and all of that. And I would just sort of like pick up a book and I would read the back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the synchronicity of this. And then some of them I would take home and some of them I wouldn't. But it was very interesting because they were part of the pieces of it. And every time I felt kind of stuck, I would go down to that bookstore as well and see what kind of book was going to show up with like opening the pages or whatever. But the angels do say that, everyone who's waking up now as opposed to 20, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, or whatever, time is moving so much more quickly. And as a result of that, you can go through that initial process so much quicker than like I did 20 years ago, or some people did 30 years ago. And you also have not only that, but you have so much support, not only in the heavenly realm, but in the earthly realm as well, which is amazing that we can talk about this. Because 20 years ago, like I went on a date to tell someone that I was intuitive, and they're like, oh, I don't believe in that. So we're way beyond that discussion about debating whether it's real or not. And we're already into how do we use it? How do we use it? And so there's so much earthly support. And the kids, oh my God, the kids on TikTok with the crystals and the intuition and stuff, they just can't get enough of the tarot cards and all of that kind of stuff. It's so wonderful to see this awakening that was promised to us when we all woke up as well. And we can see it in action here, which is all of these kids that are ready to take on the world's problems and solve them through intuition and divine connectivity. Side note.
Yeah. And look, when we were younger, I think we almost had to suppress it. I remember one particular time I said to my sister, as I was walking out the school gates, I said to my sister, oh, Mum's in a bad mood. And she sort of goes, oh, how do you know? And my thoughts were, how do you not know? Like, I just didn't get that. And when we got home, Mum was in a bad mood. Mum was had 8 kids, so I can understand why she was in a bad mood. But my sister turned to me and basically blamed me. And because of that, I stopped saying anything. I stopped expressing how I was feeling. So we almost had to suppress how we were feeling. Whereas nowadays you see it, and we ask them to stand up. We ask the kids to say how they feel. You know, who are their imaginary friends? What do they look like? And we actually encourage it, which is so lovely. We couldn't have done that in our days. We couldn't have done, or in my days, you know, when I was a lot younger, because you didn't have the ability to know that everyone was like that. You didn't have that ability. And I love how you said about dating someone, because I know with my partner now, if he wasn't spiritual, there's no way knowing I'd be with him,
Right.
because, you
Right.
know, that to me was my number one thing.
Well, and it's interesting because somebody can be spiritual without being spiritual. And, one of the things that I would say that's very interesting is that, 2 years ago, we had a monumentous shift in the planet, which I'm not going to mention, but we all know what happened in 2020, at the beginning of 2020. And when that happened, the angels said to me, do not use the word that the media is giving this, the word that rhymes with mandemic that starts with a P. They said, this is an ascension portal. And so many people are going to wake up consciously, and this is your pathway to the new earth. So they said that, keep in mind, they said, keep your awareness on the higher vibrating narrative, which is the role that this plays in the ascension, and off of the lower vibrating narrative, which is trying to figure it out and piece it together and clue it together and all that other stuff. And of course, we go back and forth to both. But the piece that I have during these times, so that I could be of value and of service, is constantly seeing this as the role that it plays in the ascension, the times that we're living in right now. And always when people forecasted this from a religious standpoint, like the apocalypse, and it was all about, burning buildings and volcanoes and, war and all this kind of stuff. And yet it's very interesting because we're speeding through a period where we're actually going to the new earth. And as a result of the new earth, intuition is going to pale by comparison to the other gifts that we have yet to recover, like telepathy and teleportation and all of these other things, which are coming to us very, very soon, according to the angels. So we're getting through this period, but this period is actually, let's say, like sculpting a sculpture. It's actually sculpting or helping us remember who we are, because we're turning to that as a result. And it is mainstream conversation, maybe not on the news, but amongst each other, the amount of people that have gone and shifted their values as a result of the times that we're living in, and suddenly found their awareness as well and their inner voice, and now knowing what to do with it. And as this keeps continuing, it's only going to get more incredible from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you explained that. That is so cool. We are running out of time. So I want everyone to be aware that the website is www.talktomyangels.com, okay, to connect with Seph, to get the discount coupon, but just to see what he's got there, the courses that he's got, actually, I don't even know whether I saw your website. I don't think I did. I went onto your LinkedIn, and I went onto your Facebook, and I went onto everything else, but I don't think I actually went onto your website. So I'm going to check.
That sounds
I'm gonna check
amazing.
it out.
Everybody needs to be stalked once in a while. That
Oh,
sounds
I
great.
know,
I'm
it's
glad you
fun.
did all that. Yeah.
I'm a stalker.
So-
So before we finish off, Seph, is there anything else you'd like to bring forward before we go?
It's all about love. It really is all about love. And when you connect with your intuition, it's not just positive energy. You will experience love for yourself. And many of you that are listening to this are already there. And it's a byproduct. It's just guaranteed to be there. When you access your intuition and you start talking to your angels, the peace and the love that's there. And wherever you are and you're listening to this, I am genuinely sending that to you, and wishing for many blessings for you. And hopefully, even hearing this conversation has activated something amazing that's going to give you a more life-affirming experience.
Oh, that's so nice. That got me. That got me. Okay, you won. Thank you
Oh,
so much, Seph. That was just really, really lovely. And it's really nice to see that the different point of view and getting an understanding of it. One of the things that I have always said too is having people on the show. You're talking about intuition. I talk about intuition, but because we can bring it to people in so many different ways, we're not in competition. And one of the things that I'd love to other people to realize, it's not a competition. It's about you expressing yourself and connecting with those that resonate, and me doing the same, and everyone else, all the coaches that I have on, all those people that talk about intuition, we all do it in our own way, and that's how we can meet and resonate with people. So that was a beautiful, heartfelt thank you at the end. So I really, really want to thank you so much, and thank you for the coupon. That is amazing. We got to smash that out, guys. Come on, we can do that.
and remember that it's the collaboration that we're doing right now with all of our gifts and our
Yes.
voices that's bringing in the new earth. And the new earth is all about prosperity, unlimited prosperity. So there's no need for there's no need for competition in that kind of prosperity, and we're greeting it. We're bringing it in very soon.
Cool. Thank you so much. I've got to go. Otherwise, I'm going to end. But stay there because I'll chat with you in a minute. I'll just have to press the right buttons. Hang on. Let me see if I can press the right buttons. Yep. Here we go. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Jump onto his website. Also jump onto my website too. Have a look at the different courses that we've got, the coaching that we do, who you resonate with, and go with it. Get some understanding. Get some help if you need it. Or just connect. Hey, I just like talking. You know what I'm like. But I'm Susan Jane. The Art of Intuition is my website, .com.au. You've got to use the Australian part to it because it is a registered business. And I want to say thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. Share, like, subscribe, and we will see you next week. Okay, bye for now.